Hey, it's Del Jackson. We have a very special Zoom here with Casey Stitzel, coach of the Milllersville Marauders. I didn't tell Coach, but I'm an alumni, 1979. So I don't have my Pet Manor gear. I got my Yellow Hoops gear. So I gotta get some MU gear, Coach. Not
Absolutely.
begging, but we'll have to take care of you. How you doing,
Yep.
big guy?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're right next door. I'm going to try to get some college coaches on here. I think that'll help our website as far as people know what's going on. But I wanted to talk to you just because number one, you're close. Number two, your program before you got here, you have done a great job with your program.
Thanks.
So let's talk about when you came in and what you did to build where we're at right now with the Millersville Marauders.
Yeah, I mean, anyone who's coached, at any level, any sport will tell you that rebuilding is the hardest thing to do. And I've been lucky enough to do it twice now, both at Millersville and then obviously previously at Del Val. So, I mean, the biggest thing is just you got to set the tone. I know that's a buzzword now, is saying the word culture, but you have to lay out your expectations. You got to let guys and families know what you're trying to do. One of the ways that we do it is we're just very, very honest with recruits, very honest with families, very honest with our student athletes here. You know what I mean? I think at the end of the day, they really respect that. And then you just, like I said, you got to recruit the right kids. Every school is different. So, we've had the ability to go out of state a little bit and get some DMV guys and Virginia guys, because honestly, when I first got the job, we recruited PA and we recruited Philly. A lot of kids chose PZAC schools that were at that time obviously better programs, because we were rebuilding. So, and then just like, building it every year. I mean, I guess it was 7 years ago, we played a bunch of freshmen for 2 years. And then the payoff was 2 years ago, we're playing 3, 4, or 5, fifth year seniors, and we win the East and win 25 games and, go to the NCAA tournament. And then last year we kind of lost everybody again, because that always happens in rebuilding, because your classes are always really big the first 2 years. So our first two classes, I think there were like 6 and 7 guys. So last year, we're all our scholarship money's in those fifth year seniors,
Sure.
obviously because they had their year over because of COVID. And so then we kind of had to do it a little bit again, but it was a lot easier this time because we had some underclassmen that learned under those guys, learned what it took to be, a good player in a really good league, and learned from some great leaders, great student athletes. So we end up, actually, had a shot in the air at Westchester. And if that goes in, we win the East again. Last year, we lose the game, and then we get, we were about a game away from first place last year, but with a very young group. So it's been very challenging rebuilding. As I tell a lot of coaches that I mentor that ask me for advice, rebuilding is really hard. You hit your head against the wall a lot of times. It's probably why I don't have any hair, since I've done it twice, but there's no better feeling than when you do it. When I look back at Del Val and the first time we won our championship, and they've never won a championship before, cutting down that net is something I'll never forget. And then even, winning the East, we clinched it against Lock Haven at home on senior day, got to send those 5, seniors off, and we had a manager that was with us even for 5 years, who was one of the best I've ever been around. And to send them off at that last home game, winning the East, and I think we were 25 and I forget our record, but we had a lot of wins, 23-5, I think we were, to end the regular season. We were 25-7 overall. So to have that was an awesome feeling.
Let me ask you this, because I was reading your bio. We'll have the bio on our website here, so anybody can check it out. I was interested in Delaware Valley and Millersville. I was a D3 assistant for several years, and it's different. So tell me, from your perspective, the difference between the Division III and the Division II, as far as from the coach's point of view.
Yeah, I mean, a lot, like you said, a lot of things are different. Obviously the financial aid piece at D3 to the scholarship piece here, that's probably the biggest difference. And then honestly, if I'm being honest, I mean, the level of play, I had to make adjustments too. I mean, when we were at Del Val, 99% of the time, we were the most athletic team that we were playing against. So we could do things like trap ball screens, press a little more, because we were so athletic. Even if we made a mistake, we would make up for it. We were big, strong, athletic, and fast. Now here everybody's big, athletic, and fast, so you have to make a little bit of adjustment. So I think X and O wise, there's an adjustment there that we've had to make. We probably don't press as much. We're more probably of a half-court defensive team here. Do some different stuff with the ball screen, and then scholarships. You're recruiting a higher level kid. And I was blessed at Del Valle. We probably went when we had 3 league championships, went to the NCAA tournament 3 times. We had multiple scholarship guys on our team. Obviously, as guys going under the radar and guys that should be playing D1 or playing D2, and it's the case at all levels. So I mean, there was definitely a big adjustment, and then recruiting to the school is different. You know what I mean? So you have to understand what the school wants. You know what I mean? Millersville was having some, not so much success retaining transfers, when I took over the job. So, I know we tried mostly in the first 2 years, build with high school kids, and it worked out. I'm not saying that it always works out that way, but for us, it did work out because those freshman classes that we brought in developed, and we plugged a few transfers in here the last couple of years. But for the most part, we built it through high school kids. So definitely a lot of big difference. I had to, adjust myself, and obviously even just recruiting in different areas, you're obviously, when you have full scholarships, there's a lot more people that return your call.
Sure.
There's a lot of people that return my call when I was asking them to pay $20,000 a year at Del Valle. And when I ask them to pay nothing, obviously it's a different situation. So, and then the other thing is, one thing that going back to your question about the rebuild is I've been blessed to have some great staff. If you look at the guys that have worked for me in the last 7 or 8 years, they've all moved on, and I have 2 really good ones right now that they're going on their 3rd year. But that's something I'm really, really proud of. And obviously, if I didn't have those guys during the rebuild, and then obviously when we turn the corner, I would have no chance of doing this by myself. So I'm very blessed and take a lot of pride in getting guys here and moving them on to obviously better spots.
Let me ask you about recruiting a little bit, because we get a lot of parents here on our website and a lot of the players. So just tell me in general what you're looking at as far as a player. So you're out there, you're watching a game, or you see some tape. What's the first thing, or the first or second thing that you're zeroed in on? Because everybody's got the tape on the kid, or you got, if you're recruiting him, I swear there's probably 10 other people knocking on his door at the same time.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing, I always say all the time, like, it's really easy to develop, to see talented guys. The hardest part is just to find winners, right? Like, that's the hardest part about recruiting, So, obviously there'll be a lot of times where even my staff will bring me guys and they'll say, "Hey, coach, can you watch the film? I really like this kid, blah, blah, blah." And the biggest thing I want to know is, okay, are they coachable? How are the parents, right? That's a big one right now. So I know for us personally, if we feel like parents are going to be tough, that they're off the list. I just won't do it. I've done this long enough. I'm just not doing that. So that's become a big one, that maybe, as you were talking about the differences between Millers and Del Valle, that probably wasn't one of my top 5 worries 8 years ago, 10 years ago. It's become top 2 right now. And then, like, do the kids play hard? We build our program on toughness, right? Are they mentally tough? But, like, when you're coming from the basketball side of it, I'll tell you one skill that's really that it's really hard to find right now is shooting. So if we can find some guys that can make shots and have some toughness with that, that's something. And then obviously getting big guys is tough at every level.
Yeah.
And we're blessed. I know you're going to ask me some questions about my team, but we're blessed the last 3 or 4 years to have some really good bigs, and the ones that have gotten better as their careers gone on. So, but like I said, really, honestly, like, finding a PZAC level talent is not hard going to all these events. But if you're asking me to try to find a winning basketball player with a family that gets it, there's a lot of families that overrate their kids. There's a lot of families that don't realize how good Division III basketball is.
Yeah.
And even though I am at the Division II level, I'm very sensitive to that. We just had an elite camp. We had over 100 kids. The first thing I said when I talked to them after camp, if you are not returning D3 coaches text messages because you think you're better, you are making an absolute biggest mistake of your life when it comes to recruiting. So I can say it to them blue. I'm not sure many people were listening to me, but I hope at least if I can reach 5 families. And honestly, there's just a lot of people in these kids' ears giving them bad advice.
Yeah.
And it makes it a lot harder because like I said, we're not the program that goes recruiting and brings a kid up for a visit and promises him playing time and says, you're going to be the man. If anything, I try to scare a kid.
Mhm.
You know, I try to make him sure, like, hey, if you don't play defense here, you won't play.
Mhm.
You know, and, you know, we have this guy's coming back. You know, you might be a redshirt candidate, so we'll do the opposite, and we might lose guys because of that. But I'm okay with that because I'd rather get the guys that want the challenge. You know, that comes with what I was saying to them and what my staff was saying to them when we were recruiting them. So recruiting has definitely gotten harder because I think finding kids with the right intangibles has become a lot harder, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. I was coaching when I coached at Penn Manor here long time ago. I mean, we had some ties with Millerdale, which was always nice to have those ties. But I would tell our players and parents at any time, and I give that advice today. I said, look, we got some good basketball here. We got Division III, we got JUCO,
Yes.
we got Division II. We don't have a lot of Division I around here, but my big thing was like, okay, here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to sit at a Millersville game. Don't sit up in the stands. Sit right
Right.
next to the floor. And you
Right.
tell me if you can run up and down with those kids, then we got something. But you got to make sure that you do your homework, number one. And then the other advice that I usually give, especially for D3 guys, I'm gonna like, okay, you need to call or ask for some names of kids that's played there to know what's
Yeah,
really going on behind the scenes.
for sure.
Anybody can see a team or when you guys have your visits and all that stuff. I mean, it's
100%.
good. You want to put your
Yep.
best foot forward, but you also want to know, the good, the bad, and the ugly at the
Yeah.
same time, because as you know, and I know, it's a lot. It's going to college ball from high school. It's a lot of time and a lot of just it's unbelievable difference as far as the time of the game. I mean,
Yes.
I'm sure you find that out too, at a high
Yeah.
school kid, and it's like, look, we got 20-minute halves, and it's like it's forever. You can be down by 15 at halftime, and it's really not that much. We can make
100%.
that up pretty quick. So,
I mean, I love going to high school games because, like, you know, you blink your eyes and the game's over.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Hour
So,
and
but I think you hit
15,
it.
coach. An hour and
Yeah, right.
15.
Yeah. So, I mean, but I'll tell you, you hit it, Dell. And a lot of people make statements about, you know, like programs or levels when they're uneducated about it. You know, there's so many kids that I couldn't even tell you how many kids, even with our success, the success of the league, right, over the last 2 years that have told me that they are too good for this level and our program. And I got to be honest with you, I didn't agree on that very
Sure.
much. And, you know, and honestly, it's just, and it's hard because, like you said, they never saw us play.
Yeah.
They've never seen the league, or as you said, even with D3,
Sure.
you know, people think D3 like, oh, I'll just play D3. Yeah, you guys have no idea. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
go watch some big time D3 basketball. I mean, it's really a good level and some really good coaching. You know,
Yeah.
really good coaching. You know, that I was blessed, that made me better.
Yeah.
You know, when I was a D3 coach. But yeah, a lot of families, a lot of people that are in talking to these kids are very uneducated, and it's really hurting. In my opinion, it's really hurting the student athlete.
Okay, let's talk. This comes up a lot. Let's talk AAU and high school and how that works on your end as far as recruiting. I mean, you got a guy and he's playing at Philly Elite or one of the bigger AAU programs, but you're also seeing guys from Philly. You're seeing guys from Washington area and down in that area and Maryland. So tell me, how does that work, or does it just depend on each kid? It's like, okay, he's more AAU and the coach is going to give me a better input, or I can talk to the high school, or I got to get a little bit from everybody.
I like both, to be honest. You know, we really liked it because, you know, it's just different. You know, your role on your high school team might be completely different than your role on your AAU team. You know, you might be playing on an AAU team with 10 Division I players, right? And you're a role player. But on your high school team, you average 22, 6, and 6.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to see in both settings, to be honest with you, to see how you kind of deal with both. Plus, the coaching styles might be different too. You know, your high school coach might have this style, your AAU coach might have this style. And then I'll tell you, one of the best evaluations that we've had is getting guys in our gym we're blessed through NCAA rules where you couldn't do this at D3, but we're able to do it where we'll have recruits work out against our guys. And that's a great evaluation. Probably the best one of the three, to be quite frank.
All right. Well, let me hit on that then. Again, we're educating me and educating some of our viewers out there. So when you get a recruit in, is he allowed to play with your kids?
Yeah, so he's got to get cleared physical wise, right? So he's got to get paperwork in, and obviously we have to put the NCAA paperwork in from a compliance standpoint. But we get a 2-hour workout.
Okay.
With guys, you can either do it before their high school season or you can do it after. You can't do it while they're playing.
Okay.
So it'd have to be now. Like for now, we would be able to do it, and then obviously we'd be able to do it when their season's over. But both kids we took last year as freshmen from a scholarship standpoint. And we actually had a junior college transfer. We worked him out 2 years ago. So all 3 guys we brought in this year that are on scholarship are all guys that worked out with our guys in our gym. And I think, just putting them through our drills and having them play against guys that where those guys are kind of at, it's a great evaluation. Also, you get to coach them a little bit. You can give them some adversity in that workout, and then you want to see how they handle it. Because that's the biggest thing, Dale, honestly, the kids struggle with right now. They can't handle when things don't go their way.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So if I can get them in my gym and I tell my staff, make them do this or have him go against an all-elite player.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he gets his butt kicked a little bit. Is he going to keep fighting or is he going to kind of go back?
Yeah.
For the kids that keep fighting, and if I like the skill set, then we know we have something.
Yeah.
There.
Are you allowed to be in the gym with those at that time?
100%. Yep. It's basically almost like a practice.
Nice.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. So, kudos to you for going down to Virginia. I coached down there and I was like crazy talent. Sometimes the academics weren't the best, but Lordy day, I mean, it was unbelievable when I would walk into a gym there and there would be Division I guys. And I'm like, what am I missing here? I started coaching 8th graders down there coaching, and I swear I had dudes doing dunks and over their heads, and I didn't know what I got into. I'm there like, well, we don't have guys in the high school doing this stuff, so I'm like, is this normal or not normal? Well, it's kind of in between, So
you hit it. It's a great state for basketball, and if you look at all levels, right? Obviously, you got the high majors. It's a great state. You got the Virginias of the world, the Vodtechs, my old high school coaches, the head coach at Richmond, Coach Mooney, VCU. But then you talk about the D3 level down there.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's one of the best conferences in the country.
Yeah.
North Macon was national champion 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And then, there's you got the high majors and you got the high level D3s, and there's just something missing with that really good D2 school.
Yeah.
Right in the middle.
Yeah. There's no doubt. Yeah.
So we've kind of capitalized on that. We have some connections through my staff. And we've kind of built a reputation down there now. And we had a kid coming in this year from Virginia Beach area. So he's, about 6 hours away, but we had some connections down there. My staff did a great job with that. And then we have a kid from Northern Virginia, from Bishop Ireton, which that league's one of the best leagues in the country, playing DeMatha, Gonzaga, all those guys. I mean, that's as high level as you're going to get in the country when it comes to high school basketball. So we've been very blessed. The DMV in Virginia has treated us very well.
Yeah, I used to go to Coach Wooden's
for sure,
all the time, man. You just sit there and watch those kids, and they're freshmen, and you're like, oh my gosh, So that was always cool. That was very cool. Yeah. All right, let's switch gears here a little bit. And again, part of this is education for Dell, and part of it is education for our people that are watching.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
So talk to me about NIL and if it affects Millersville at the D2 level at all.
It has not yet. We have not had a situation where we had to deal with it. I'm not saying it won't get to that point, because you never know what the future holds. But as of today, I haven't had any issues or anything where I've had to navigate it with the new rules of it. We get educated on it. We obviously have we have compliance, and they're educating us on what we'd have to do. Obviously, if it came about, and obviously I'm not opposed to it. If somebody can help themselves, make some money off doing the right things on and off the court, I think that's great. So, but we have not yet at Millersville from our program dealt with that situation yet.
Okay, so let's go to the league then. So, I mean, obviously you're coaching against these other teams and you know what's going on. Is it an issue in the PSAC?
I wouldn't know, even though we are recruiting against them, I wouldn't know specifically if it is. I have never ran into a kid telling me, hey, coach, I have NLI money coming from this school. Can you match it? No, we have not dealt with that.
Okay.
So that would probably be the only thing that I could say firmly that we have not dealt with when it comes to recruiting in the PSAC.
Okay, cool. Let's talk about your upcoming team. Last year was last year. Every year is a little bit different, especially at the Division II level. Sometimes you get guys rolling in, sometimes you get guys rolling out for various reasons. So how about the foundation for your team coming back? And you and I talked off camera, and you said everybody's on campus, so you know kind of what you got going into the season.
Yeah, so I mean, we've been at it now for 2 weeks. We get 4 hours in the preseason on the court. This week's been a little challenging with the heat, but we're making do. Shout out to Penn Manor allowing us to use their gym here on Friday to help us with the air until we get it next year. But we have 12 returners. We also return a first team all league player, Jaden Faulkner from 2 years ago, who had knee issues, actually had an ACL tear in 2019, had ACL surgery right before COVID hit. And honestly, it was a bad surgery. So he played on it, which is a miracle, shows you how tough he is. On our 25-win team, PSAC East champs, first team all league with a knee that was falling apart from a bad ACL surgery. So basically last spring we decided, or 2 springs ago, I'm sorry, we decided that obviously he should get it over again. He got a great doctor down in the DMV, and he's 100% healthy now. And when he's healthy, he's probably one of the top players I've ever coached. So getting him back and his experience and obviously talent and leadership is huge. And then obviously we return most of our team, from last year, on a team that was one game out of first place in the PSAC when it was very young. So it's a really, really talented group. We're happy with our 3 freshmen that we have coming in too, but they'll also have challenges because they're playing against so many returners. That's the other thing. Freshmen don't realize how hard it is until they get here. Like new role, new system, new surroundings, very challenging no matter what level you go to. So yeah, I mean, we got great kids. Like that's the biggest thing we're looking at is we got to have good kids. We got to have coachable kids. We got to have really good guys that want to win for Milllersville and not trying to just do things for themselves. So our front court's really strong. We returned Matt Day to transfer from Westchester, was first team all league last year. And then Drew Stover will step in for Justin Nwosu. And Drew was our second leading scorer as a sophomore. And I think he has a chance to be one of the better players in the league if he keeps getting better. And then we got some really, really talented young guards that started to get some really good experience last year when we won, I think, 10 out of 12 to finish the season off. So, yeah, we're really happy. I got a great staff. Both my assistants do a great job. This will be their 3rd year with me. So, it's like we're always on the same page and we have that chemistry, which is huge when you have a lot of returners and you have high expectations for the team. So yeah, we're definitely excited. We got a little bit of everything, and now it's going to come down to, you got to stay injury free. Number one, we've had some injuries in the past, obviously with Jaden being out, and obviously you got to have that chemistry. Will guys be willing to sacrifice for the team? Because we do have a lot of guys that could play, could make the argument. What will they react if their role is limited? So those are all the questions that we'll figure out here, hopefully in the next couple of months.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. When is your kickoff officially? When are you allowed to start?
Yeah, so they changed the rule actually where you are now allowed to start a little earlier than October 15th. So they give you some flexibility on how many practices you get before your first game. So for us, we're going to start on October 12th. It's a Thursday. We usually do Thursday, Friday practice. And then what we usually do the first weekend is we do inter-squad scrimmage. And it's great for the new guys. We bring in PSAC refs because, in the preseason, nobody fouls anyone. All the guys are telling me I'm missing calls and my staff's missing calls. Yeah. So we try to bring in the PSAC refs for that Saturday. We do, and we obviously take off on Sunday. So it's a great film for us, great evaluation. Because this group, this team has about 12, 13 guys that, if you ask me here on September 7th, can play at this level. Yeah. So that's when we officially start. And then obviously we'll have 2 practices a week. And then obviously weight room sessions, conditioning sessions leading up to the 12th.
All right. I got a crazy question for you. So
sure.
Inter squad scrimmages. Do you coach either of those teams?
No, I don't. I love
Okay.
watching.
All right.
Gotta be honest with
I got a great story for you, coach. You'll like this. So,
you. Okay.
I was coaching at E-Town as an assistant. Head
Right.
coach is coaching, I'm coaching,
Right.
and I'm told you cannot win. You cannot beat the coach. I was like, you can't do that. You're not allowed to do that. I put a kid in, he turned his ankle a little bit. And the trainer came over. He said, "Oh, he's fine. He's fine. Talk to the kid. He's fine." Oh, I put him in. I'll tell you what, head coach come down here. He chewed me out. And it's like, oh, like, okay, okay.
That's funny. Yeah. It's a better evaluation when I can just sit back and watch. And it's a great experience for my assistants.
Sure.
It lets them, be able to call a timeout, run their own team. Plus, it's a different voice.
Yeah. Yeah.
My voice can get, I can get old with these guys. So like
Yeah.
the fact that my two assistants are doing it, and then I get to yell at the refs and I don't have to worry about getting the tee.
Yeah, that's funny. That's
So it's even, that's like the biggest perk there is. I get to yell at them from the score table, right? They can't touch me. So
that's awesome. That's awesome.
but no, it's a really bad, but I know that if I did coach a team, I would get competitive and then I would not be trying to get out what I want to get out of it. So I do try to step away from it, but that's a great story. That's a great story.
Oh, we all have good stories, don't we? Sometimes I
Absolutely.
share some, but that was pretty good.
Absolutely.
That was a good one. Hey, last thing, how do you go about, and I know as a coach every year you're looking at last year, you're looking at this year, but how do you look at building on success? Like last year, you're telling me you got a young team, you're one bucket away from going to the championship game. It's like, how do you continue that, and how do you push forward? I mean, all coaches have the goal of playing in that big game at the end of the year. I'm sure you guys were in it 2 years ago, but I'm sure that's your goal all the time, So
Yeah.
how do you improve? What do you look at for yourself and for your program?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just making guys understand that every year is new, and I think when you look around, it's, just because you had success last year doesn't mean you're going to have success this year. Just because you had a good year individually last year doesn't mean you're going to have a good year this year. And I think that, that's one thing that I think I've been stressing a lot to our guys. It's like, listen, don't listen to anyone tell you, oh, you guys, we're one basket away from being the first seed in the East again. And Jaden's coming back and he's one of the best players in the league. And don't get caught up in that. Get caught up in trying to get better every day. And that's the easy. I know it sounds very simple, but that's really what the biggest message we try to tell our guys all the time. And I try to tell myself, I don't try to get caught up in, preseason PZAC rankings. Like I could care less.
Yeah.
I don't care. I mean, most of the time that stuff is, it's what coach likes another coach. I'm going to vote him. And if they don't like it, which I'm sure people don't like me, so they won't vote us high either. So I try not to get caught up in that stuff. So I tell our guys not to either. I just take it day for day. Try to get better. How can I get better today? And that's just not basketball either, right? How do I become a better student? How do I become a better man? How do I become a better teammate? How do I become a better son, right? How do I become a better friend? And that's the message all the time. So we did a film session yesterday because we weren't on the court as long because of the heat, and we were getting on our guys about certain things defensively. And it's like, okay, well, are you okay being maybe a possible playoff team this year, or do you want to be really good?
Right.
I have that feeling that team 2 years ago had, and maybe even go further than that. So I'm always trying to let them know that when we get on you, we push you, we're actually giving you. We had sometimes with guys nowadays, you have higher expectations for them that they do themselves, and it's your job to try to make them understand we're pushing you because we think you're actually really, really good. And we think you could be and the biggest thing, Della, and this is one thing as I've gotten older, I've had 2 boys myself, 4 and 6 at home, right? And I try to get them to understand, the biggest thing is I want to get a call at 27 and I want you to tell me that you just got promoted. Or I want to get something in the mail and tell me, I'm invited to your wedding, right? So I just had a former player tell me about, I guess 2 months ago, he's getting married in next August, right? At the end of the day, when you're young, and I was young, I was 26 when I got hired. You have that arrogance when you're young. You think winning's everything. And I had no humility at all. None. I thought I was Dr. Naismith himself. And then you realize as you get older and you start having a family of your own, we will all want to win. We're competitors. I mean, anybody who tells you to win is, that's not the truth. But we want them to win at life, and we want them to have lasting relationships, and we want them to understand what it's going to take when they become.
Uh-oh, we froze up, coach. We froze up. Oh, no, 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 no. Oh, are we back with me or did I lose you? Oh, man, we're probably going to have to wrap it here because coach froze on us. So, hey, thanks for everybody. Thanks for coach. We'll post this up soon. Hey, thank you. And we'll be back a little bit later on with some new ones. Thanks a lot. Bye.